Borough Commissioners Board meeting for the date of Wednesday, February 13th at 11 a.m. is now in session. Let the record reflect that we did hold an executive session that began at 9 a.m. In accordance with Indiana Code Section 5-14-1.5-6.1b, and that no information was discussed other than that which was listed on the public notification. With that, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Present.
Commissioner President Gardner.
Here, we do have a quorum and we will proceed. I would address your attention to the minutes for the date of January 23rd, 2019, and entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner President Dwight Gardner.
Yes. I would address your attention to the claims list for the date of February 13th, 2019. Are there any questions from board members on claims list? Then I will entertain a motion that we would approve the claims as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner President Gardner.
Yes. That takes us to having no payroll information today. That takes us to our legal report.
Today we have contracts for approval for Marquette Park Pavilion. First contract is for Arctic Engineering Company, which is for plumbing. The term is from April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020, and it's not to exceed $25,000.
Questions or comments from board members? I will entertain a motion that we would accept and approve the professional service contract for plumbing.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner President Gardner.
Yes.
We also have amended professional service contract for lawn care, for Cut Right Lawn Care, and it's for work that was in excess in 2018, and it's for a sum of $4,097.50.
I will entertain a motion that we would approve the amended professional services contract for lawn care with Cut Right Lawns to cover the cost of actually lawn care that was performed in 2018, and I believe the amount is $4,000.
$4,097.
$4,097.
I move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Dwight Gardner.
Yes.
And we also have a contract for them for 2019, term to run January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, and that's not to exceed $25,000.
Now, is that,
Cut Right Lawn Care.
is that a new contract?
What's that?
Pull that one because I think we're required to do an RFP
Okay.
for that.
Okay, we'll table that.
Okay.
Okay. The next is for Huffinger Landscaping Corp., and it's for work that was done in 2018 as well, and that's for $4,530.
I'll entertain a motion that we would approve the amended professional services contract with Hugh Binger Landscaping Corporation to cover the cost of 2018 in the amount of
$4,530.
$4,530.
Second. So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Right.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner President Dwight Gardner.
Yes. I'm gonna ask that we would table the 2019-2020 contract until there's an RFP submitted.
And we also have a professional service contract for security services for Davis State Security. And it's to run from January 2019 to December 31st, 2019. And it's not to exceed $30,000.
I thought we were gonna put those out for our table.
All right, we'll table it for an RFP. Is it the same thing with the American Eagle? That's a new contract, right?
They'll both have to be RFP.
Okay.
Well, we have existing alarm services with American Eagle.
Okay, so we need to address this.
Right.
Okay.
That contract is to run from October 1st, 2018 of last year through January 31st, 2020, and it's not to exceed $12,000.
Now, what's the contract is this in?
So that's a security.
This is for American Eagle Security, and it includes outstanding services for 2018.
Okay.
And a fire, so it's a fire alarm, our security system.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion that we would approve the contract with American Eagle Security for our fire and other alarms.
Yeah, okay.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner President Gardner.
Yes.
That completes the legal report.
Administrative reports.
Right. Kamisha Marquette.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do not have a whole lot. We are awaiting quotes for contractors for the repair of the roof in the ballroom, at the facility, I'm sorry. We contacted 2 contractors, so we're waiting for the quotes so we can see how much it would actually cost for us to get that work done. We are also awaiting quotes from American Eagle for the installation of cameras throughout the facility, as well as in the kitchen. The kitchen does not have cameras at this time, so they're going to give us a quote to install cameras in the kitchen, as well as the ticket booths. All the contracts for the 2019 calendar year have been given to the board attorney for review. We would like to thank the Parks and Maintenance Department for plowing the parking lots, clearing the sidewalks, and putting down solid pavilion. We really appreciate it, and they have really been on it, as we have had a couple of events, and it has snowed and it's been icy, and they came to make sure that we were okay. The MCC prom was held Saturday, February the 9th. It was a great success. Over 200 guests were in attendance. Ms. Carroll also said that she was pleased with the way everything turned out. It was a couple things that could have been a little different, but overall, everything was a great success. This Saturday, February 16th, is our first Superhero and Princess brunch. We have been receiving an overwhelming amount of support and participation. This event has been talked about on the local newspapers, radio stations, and in local newsletters. It is definitely the place to be, and we encourage you all to please come out and support.
Okay. Any questions or comments from board members? Thank you.
All right, Dr. Smith, Hudson Campbell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. We are gearing up for our facilities inspection for year 2019. They include the test for our sprinkler systems, the boiling system, and also for our fire extinguisher. So we're in the process of gearing up for that. Our process to complete our elevators license, we're working on that as well. And our contract with Ajax, I wanted to revisit that briefly. I know President Gardner had expressed that I needed to present a quote, and I did that, I believe, in our meeting for December the 12th. And Superintendent and I had revisited that, so we're in the process of trying to get at least something short-term going, contractual so that it would ensure that we have adequate amount of supplies here at the facility. So we're in the process of doing that as well. So we actually do have the quotes. We have an initial quote and then we have a revised quote that we got back in December. So we're working on that now. That way, I'm sorry, we can make sure that we have adequate amount of supplies here at the facility for our members. Supplies and for cleaning. CPR training. CPR training for the Hudson Campbell staff. It's around that time again. I believe most of those that do have CPR certification right now will be expiring the first week of April. So we are gearing up for that so that all staff will receive CPR training. So that will be to be determined as well. So we have our front desk, myself, of course, that would need to be recertified, and then our maintenance personnel. So those dates will be forthcoming. I'm going to also get with our aquatics manager per our superintendent, Christine, and see if there's what she may have available. If not, then we'll move in another area to ensure that everyone is adequately certified for CPR. And we will also move in the direction for OSHA training. So Ms. Dolly and I, we're converting back and forth, having some conversation, back and forth to get that set up. And so after the meeting, we'll convene with that and we'll get schedule set up for OSHA training.
Okay.
Right now, that's all I have.
Any questions or comments from board members? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don Weezy Golf Course. Morning.
Morning.
Not a lot going on at the golf course, but we did have our gas management system installed. Yesterday, actually, they came out and installed it, and tomorrow or Friday, they will come out and put a pedestal out, and what that does is everyone is going to, from what I understand, going to have a card to use in order to get gas now, so that there's no theft of gas or people using it that they shouldn't, who shouldn't be using it. The one thing we do have to do, Nate, is we need to see about running a Ethernet cable out there to get the antenna so that it's all wireless and it has to communicate with our Ethernet system. And an update on the pump situation. Nate and I met with the insurance people. I believe we're going to get X amount of dollars, I don't know, 104,000 or whatever as it stands right now. And I spoke with Jennifer Gross, who is the adjuster for travelers. She explained to me, Nate and I got a spreadsheet with all the different costs on what it would cost to replace the pump, the demolition of the building and things like that. A lot of it, they didn't know what we would be able to do in-house or anything like that, but the majority of the cost was 89,000 something was for the pump itself. A company out of Tinley Park that travelers used to do the adjusting called Flowtronics, which is the company that we use. That's the big golf course pump company, and they designed the pump specifically to our needs. What we had in there, the pump that we did have in there is obsolete now. But that chews up almost all of the money that we're going to get. So there are other options. I have brought that to the table on TurfNet. There are pumps that are for sale. So it's something that we have to look into and see which way we want to go, because the 89,000 is for a brand new pump. But that sort of eats up all of the $104,000. That's all I had.
Any questions from board members? I do have one for you. And I just, for clarity's sake, the insurance company is not covering the total amount of damage done to the property.
Correct, because from what I understand, that building, the only building on our site that was actually covered is the clubhouse, and that was an outbuilding or something. I'm not sure how that fits into the.
So there's a maximum amount according to the policy that we can receive.
Okay.
And so that 100,000 that's the max according to the policy that we can get.
Okay.
And then they had added an additional $4,000 in for demolition and debris removal.
Okay.
There's a possibility, the insurance adjuster thinks that there's not the insurance adjuster, our insurance representative from Haywood and Fleming think there's a good possibility we may get some from the person who's responsible for the accident.
Okay.
But as she spoke to that insurance company, they weren't ready to proceed forward until they talked to the person who actually caused the accident. They said they had been unable to communicate with him. However, Leslie had communicated with them and then gave them the information so that communication can take place.
So that part is developing.
That part is developing, and then she said there's additional money that we could get from that. However, there's one additional caveat. There was damage to any of the NIPSCO property. NIPSCO kind of takes their money off top, and NIPSCO goes off top. So we don't know what the assessed value of anything dealing with any NIPSCO property is, but there's still additional funds that we still may be able to get.
Okay. Doug, we're going to immediately send out an RFP based on the insurance adjusters, what was damaged and what needs to be done, and then and we're going to put a determining limit on receiving those, and then we're going to try to move forward in some way.
Okay.
Kayana, Youth Services Bureau.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Very short, we're currently working with the Indiana Department of Education to provide snacks for our after-school program. We wanted to go through Geminis. There's a 15% cut off the top, so that was something that we felt like wouldn't be beneficial for us. However, we do have a hold on our after-school program because we were having budget issues. Our budgets were not passed in November, so we're still waiting for that to happen. So we can't have employees working and we don't have a budget for them. So all of that is on hold. We are still looking for youth that are interested in our youth council. We had a very productive meeting last Friday with members from the technical assistance from Vantage for our Cities Connecting Children to Nature. So we had a meeting with some partners as well as Vantage who are coming to help us work on strategies for our Cities Connecting Children to Nature grants. So that was a really good meeting on Friday. It was an all day, no, I'm sorry,
Thursday.
not Friday, it was Thursday, 2/7. It was a really good meeting. We had that all day, worked with them, came up with some great ideas for our Cities Connecting Children to Nature. We started planning for recreation and for summer feeding. We'll have updates for you in the near future. We're making sure pavilions are going to be accessible, as well as if we can actually serve food out of those. So there's a certain code that we have to meet with the Department of Education, so we have to make sure that everything is where it needs to be with the refrigerators and all of that type of thing. So talking to Claude, making sure that happens. We will have training for that summer feeding program in April. All of our staff have to be trained. Anybody, even if they're a volunteer, they have to be trained according to our administrative review. So that is something that we have to get on immediately. Even if we don't hire those people until May, they still have to be trained in April because that's what our administrative review is requesting. Then we are doing our refined strategy for the implementation of our Cities Connecting Children to Nature through National League of Cities. That is due on the 22nd, so that's next Friday. So that's the implementation phase, how we're going to implement it, and then what strategies we are going to use to measure it. So all of that is due on the 22nd, and we will know sometime in March whether we get those additional funds of $50,000. That's all I have.
Questions, comments from board members? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So me, I wanted to give you an update on Hal Park. So at the last meeting, I talked about the revisions that need to be made to the bid to adjust for the floor damage. Bids were put out. However, nobody submitted a bid to redo the entire floor. So now we have to go and seek out 3 quotes
Yes.
in order to do the work for the floor. So that would involve repairing whatever is causing the crack. We hope it's something minor, and then to replace the flooring in there as well. So we've got to seek out 3 quotes in order to get that work done. But the work has started. They have started doing electrical work. They are starting the demolition work. I think that started this morning. So they're doing some demo work as it relates to taking stuff out of the kitchen, and then replacing stuff at the kitchen. The painting work is slated to begin, I think, next week. So work has started. So we're very happy that process has gotten underway. We talked about Gleason Pump House already, so I don't need to go into any further detail on that. Just a brief update on what damage the polar vortex caused. Here at the Hudson Campbell, we had 4 sprinkler heads that burst in 2 different offices, so it caused a complete flooding of 2 different offices. In those offices, there was some damage to the furniture, as well as damage to the computers. IT is assessing the damage to the computers to see if they can be repaired. The carpet in those rooms, there was carpet in both of those rooms, so it's going to have to be ripped up and replaced. We had 3 pipes that burst in 3 different offices. So that caused not, in one office it was really bad. It caused the collapse of some of the ceiling tile panels and also some of the insulation. And so we've solved all of those issues. American Eagle came out and did the repair, so you'll probably be seeing in near future claim reports about some of the claims that have been submitted to take care of that. We had in our pavilions, actually Brad, who was here earlier, rode by North Gleason Pavilion, and noticed that there was water running from the inside of the building to the outside, and told us that he thought maybe a pipe had burst. And upon Claude and I going there yesterday, we noticed that a pipe had burst, and there was a lot of water damage. There's water that goes, it's almost like a moat that goes around the building itself. So yesterday, Claude was able to shut the main water valve off. We shouldn't have any future issues as a result of that. We had a water fountain burst at Borman, is causing flooding, and then at Glen Ryan, there was a pipe that had come apart, caused some minor damage at Glen Ryan, but that's a summary of all of the damage that the polar vortex left us. At the last meeting, I should move this down to action items, but we had talked about doing a damage deposit when we have our pavilion rentals. Currently, we don't do any kind of deposits. We just take the rental fee. We don't have we'll have a lot of occasions where people do any damage, but I think there's a level of protection that we need to have. If damage occurs, where we take a deposit. If there is no damage, everything has been cleaned and returned back to its proper form, we return that payment back to them. It's something that is done at Marquette currently, but it's something that we would like to implement at the rest of our pavilions. So if the board sees fit, I would like the opportunity to implement a damage deposit, and I will work with the finance department very closely to make sure that whatever we're doing meets the standards set by the state board of accounts.
Is there
A dollar amount? I was suggesting $100.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion that we would approve a damage deposit on pavilion rentals in the amount of $100.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner President Dwight Gardner.
Yes. I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Do we have, and if we don't, we need to develop, some places call them pre-fire plans, some places call them emergency response plans, but there ought to be, in every pavilion moving forward, and also in Hudson Campbell, a notebook somewhere that identifies our electrical, where the electric boxes are, where the water and gas shutoffs are, both main and intermittent, so that, in some cases, you don't need to shut water off to the whole building, you just need to shut it off to an area.
Right.
So emergency response booklet or pre-fire plan definitely for Hudson Campbell, we would need, because of the size of the building, a pre-fire plan notebook that was given literally to the local fire department, so that if they ever had the response, they would have these things in place already. And for our smaller pavilions, just an emergency response booklet that identifies gas shutoffs, electrical shutoffs, and water shutoffs.
Okay. I don't think we have anything
Yeah,
like that
something
in
we can
place,
work on.
but I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
That's something that's definitely needed. So, yeah, I'll get with Claude, and we'll work on that.
Great.
And we'll present something in the near future to let you know
Okay.
about it. All right, and then the last thing, we had tabled a couple of these, but we need our permission to do RFPs for the following. For the Gleason Pump House work that you just mentioned, for the landscaping at Marquette Pavilion, and for the security services that are provided at Marquette and the pavilions that are rented out throughout the city. And then the last one has a little bit of a caveat. North Gleason, we have been working to get that listed as a historical landmark, but the preservation of the building is of immediate importance. I just mentioned the flooding issue. There's severe roof damage, and so I've been working with Brad Miller in order to get that done. He is willing to work with us to acquire resources outside of what, we don't really have anything, but outside resources to help with the remediation or the restoration of the building. And so the RFP for North Gleason Pavilion would actually be contingent upon us having resources from either a state or a federal source.
I'll entertain a motion that we would approve RFPs for the items listed by the superintendent.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Tommy Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Renee Patterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Dwight Gardner.
Yes.
Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Public comment?
Okay. Yeah, I showed up today. Recently, this past week, we had sanitary district meeting. And the stormwater portion, they did an MOU with the GPTC, the bus station. They're giving them $250,000 to fix the water runoff, that's stormwater. At the end of the meeting, I asked them, was there any money available for the Parks Department? They says they have money, but, they want somebody to come and talk to them about it. I guess that would be Brenda Scott Henry. She's the person over there. So they have money there, so it's available. Then recently, we were at redevelopment. They do all the demolition. That would be, I guess that's Cedric and everybody, but they says they could do the demolition of the building out there at the golf course. It shouldn't take no more than about an hour to knock that.
I've already had communications.
Okay, because that was at the meeting. I asked them, I says, hey, you guys could do it. Then it says if they don't do it, general services, they would come and do it also. And then recently, we talked to Yuki Country Club. They replaced the pumps at their facility this past October. You know, they gave me a couple of people that called. You know, they did the Will County Pumping Association, whereas they do it in a couple of weeks. You know, I think, you know, we gotta, once we get this project okay, we're gonna need somebody to do it immediately. And we also have a few people in Gary that's doing pumps. We have a guy, 37th and Roosevelt, it's Pro Pump and everything. And he says that he does pumps, he has done several golf courses, and he would like to be contacted. You know, we have another pumping company up there on Klein Avenue, off 15th Avenue. They are pump people. They are available also. So, you know, it would be in our best interest to contact them. So, you know, it would be great to do it, but, you know, let's do it as soon as possible, because they says it's golf time right now.
Yeah, we're immediately going to be sending out an RFP on that work.
Yeah.
Now that we have verification of available funding, and we will make sure that they get included.
All right then, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jim Nowacki. I live in the 2nd District. Earlier today, I ran across an article on the internet. It was put out by an organization, national organization that represents underserved communities around the country. It's called Strong Towns. Perhaps you've heard about that organization. There was a particular article that I had posted on my Facebook page regarding the findings of their analysis of money spent in underserved communities, and that's opposed to communities that might be more affluent. And the results of their analysis was that small amounts spent in underserved communities, call them poor communities for the purpose of my conversation with you, has an outsized result as compared to larger amounts spent in more affluent communities. And the reason I say this is because at the meeting today we had a great deal of discussion about the investments being made at Marquette Park. Marquette Park is in one of the city's affluent neighborhoods. We talked about elevators, we talked about how well the park department served the parking lot, we talked about money being spent here and there for our Marquette Park. We know that we've invested $28 million in the Marquette Park in an affluent area of our community. But we find that and once again at the meeting today, very little conversation about the other 53 parks in the city. And it seems to me that if most of the conversation at these meetings is always about Marquette Park, and so little of our conversation is about the other 53 parks around the city, that we're going to see less investment. And we're not talking about we have to invest a lot in those, because the result of this strong city analysis was small amounts invested in less affluent neighborhoods has an outsized advantage. Has an outsized result. So, you know, and I think I come before this board and I argue this point time and time again. I'm very glad to see that Strong Towns has done the analysis using their resources to show that if we were to take small amounts, making sure that trees are cut, grass is cut, make sure that the sanitary district runs their street sweepers around the perimeters of the park, making sure those curbs, making sure that when trees need to be replaced, that they're replaced. In other words, putting a little investment in the parks. I'd like to see investments around the city in general, but this board has a responsibility to parks, not just to Marquette Park and the affluent area of our city, because they draw that out specifically, that we get less results for these big investments in affluent areas than we would get for smaller investments in less affluent areas. Thank you.
Can I address that?
Don't need to.
No.
We are We've had different discussions on, and are in fact working on a plan as we speak that will be unveiled within the next 30 days as to how we're going to enhance a number, I believe 12 or 13 different parks throughout the city of Gary in different districts. So I'm excited about it. And those who know that the $28 million that was invested in Market Park, it was a project funded by the RDA. And even today, the discussion on Market Park was about repairs for different systems and services, and not really a new investment of any kind of our own local resources. So I'm excited about where we're going, and we're just going to keep moving in that direction. And I want to encourage the citizens of the city of Gary to keep tuning in, because we have some things that are coming forward in terms of some things we're planning to do at a number of parks throughout the city that will address exactly what Strong Towns conveyed, that little investments in community parks go a long way. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We are adjourned.